Greetings and salutations. This is Eric Mo Johnson with the Division of Agriculture. Welcome you to another NenTot Tuesday for our parent high bidders and other people interested in Alaska agriculture. Today, we're going to be speaking with Chief Joe and Doug from the Division of Forestry about burning and safe practices, best practices. This project area, there was a forest fire back in 2009, and there's a lot of downed trees that I anticipate all of our purchasers and their development are going to need to deal with, and we want that done in the most safe manner possible without causing additional concerns for the overall community. So Chief Joe, if you could start talking about some of what Nenana has for fire protection and what procedures you'd like them to follow to help make sure that everything is done best.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome everybody. My name is Joe Forness. I'm the Fire Chief for the Nenana Fire District. And I guess just basically common sense. Common sense goes a long way when you're burning. When you're out there and you want to clear your land and you want to burn off the foliage, winter burning is usually the best. Doug from the Department of Forestry will talk about permits here in a few minutes. But all I can really say is you make sure you get your large scale burn permit if you're going to burn the large pile, and adhere to the standards and the guidelines that are in that permit. They have regulations on pile size and in the surrounding area, what it has to be like when you burn. Again, when you burn, you want to make sure that once your pile is gone, that the fire is actually out. Sometimes we get fire that will get down into the duff. That's the underlayer of the ground, and it will smolder and stay hot for a long time. And usually in the spring, they'll pop back up and we'll have a wildfire. So making sure your fire is out when you think it's out, make sure you're burning appropriately. Those are the big things. Contact Fairbanks Area Forestry and let them know when you're going to burn and where you're going to burn. And then Forestry will usually contact us. They're pretty good about that and letting us know here at the local level that you got a burn going on in that area, just so that we're aware. And yeah, be safe. Don't get hurt. Burn smart.
Thank you, Joe. Hey, this is probably unfair, but do you know anything about the biochar boiler, the wood-fired boiler? That's probably not your area at all. I just know that the city had talked briefly about that being a possible way to get rid of some of the brush and stuff, is that they would collect it and put it through that, but not your subject.
Yeah, no, that's a city thing.
Guys answer, John here butting in. We are getting cut off again. I apologize. Not sure why the system keeps booting us, but we're gonna have to try this a third time.
I'm looking at it live and it still seems to be taking all the things we're saying right now.
Yeah, you got it. All right.
Okay, yeah, I think we can continue.
Continue on.
So, Doug from Alaska Division of Forestry, thank you, sir.
Yeah, hey, thanks, Joe, for that. And I agree with everything he said. The way that forestry can assist is by doing site inspections for people. So either myself or one of my guys or gals will come down and do a site inspection. And if the site is up to par, we can issue a large scale burn permit, and a large scale permit is going to cover anything larger than 10-foot diameter and 4 feet high. So almost everything that gets burnt out there is going to be bigger than a small scale. So it's going to require someone to come out and have a look at it. Other areas have started issuing contractor permits for large scale, and they actually allow people to do that online. This is because they have a very high volume of burners. This is in the Matsu. I'm not going to go that route. I want to come and lay eyes on every burn. So, and we go down there for patrol anyway. Joe knows that. So we'll be down there and we can get out there and have a look and get these people headed in the right direction. And that permit will cover agricultural burns as well, all the way up to 40 acres. Anything above that, a person would need to go through DEC, but what I can tell you now is if you're calculating acreage in piles, 40 acres is a lot of piles. You could never burn that many. So I think most people are going to be able to get away with not going through DEC. As far as wintertime burning, since you guys are outside of the borough, I would guess that's going to be, that might also be a DEC thing. It's not going to have anything to do with us because it's not during our permit season. However, we can still give guidance on how to do a good winter burn. And one thing everybody should think of is if they do get some stuff cleared this late winter, early spring, like if these folks do get into their contracts and decide, oh, I want to get out there and do some shear blading, it'd be the perfect time to do it because the ground's frozen. If they got a big dozer with a shear blade, that stuff's still going to have to dry all summer and before it can be burned properly next fall and into the winter and possibly even into the spring. Oftentimes those piles will go for years. So that's one thing to think about is drying time, because like Joe said, it's okay to put up some smoke, but to completely inundate a community is a completely different thing. And if a person were to stop traffic on the Parks Highway, they might get in trouble. Or disrupt air traffic or anything like that. So
I believe the prevalent winds kind of blow from the project area towards the northwest, which would be towards the Parks Highway. I think it'd be a little north of Nenana, but it'd be easy for it to go straight west right into Nenana. So that's a great pointing out that, to consider where your smoke is going to go.
Nenana be to the east of that project.
Yeah.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
right.
If you do get that western flow, you're going to see that. And for summertime burning, a person is going to have to call 3 phone numbers. They're going to call Joe. They're going to call me, or at least my burn permit line. They won't talk to a human, but they'll get the daily status on whether burning's approved or not. And then they're also going to call our dispatch, because our dispatch wants to know if they start receiving a bunch of calls that there's a huge plume down there, they're not sending the helicopter to a permitted agriculture fire. So those are a few things I wanted to cover. I can share that screen I had up earlier and just go through a few things. I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, but this is basically their class in a PowerPoint, the class they put together down in Palmer. And a lot of people helped out with this. We're not going to have to put people through a class because, like I said, I want to get eyes on everything up here. And I don't have enough volume that would make it worthwhile for me to do the class. For some reason, it's not, let me see if I can fix this. I'm not able to go from screen to screen for some reason. Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah, so there's the basics that I already told you guys about the size. There's a small scale burn permit. Nobody out there is going to need those until they start living out there and they got a burn barrel, or they're going to be burning small piles of brush. Or if they just are starting out with 3 or 4 acres, then maybe they can get away with doing one of these piles at a time. But these are available from Joe. They're available from me. They're available online. Here's the large scale burn permit. It's pretty easy, 2 pages. Can you guys see my arrow?
Yes, sir.
So there's the agricultural box, I would check that. And then this last box here kind of goes over that stuff. Open burning of woody debris material by farmers and developers requires written DEC approval. 40 acres or more during a year. So when we talked to them about burning piles, you know, we basically came to the conclusion that pile is as big as a pile is. It's not how many acres it took to make that pile. And besides, really, when you're dealing with black spruce and stuff, it doesn't take that big of an area to make a big pile. So, and we've got over here, you know, the stipulations. This stuff will change under size configuration and materials, and I'd probably do that third box and then just explain, you know, this person has 4 mile-long burn rows. They've got 150 feet clearance around every one of them of dirt and whatever else. And then down here, you know, there's that containment line, that fuel break that I was just talking about. Smoke management, like Joe was talking about, is down here. Resources, how many people we want on scene, what kind of heavy equipment we want on scene, how much water we want on scene, that's right here. Hopefully people are able to get good wells going out there and have high flow. That'll be great. You know, if they do start farming out there, they're going to need a lot of water. I grew up in Delta out in the ag project, so I know what it takes. Monitoring and patrolling, you know, if you start getting winds that are carrying embers into the trees, you got to do something about it. And then these numbers will change. This is Matsu. This will be Fairbanks numbers. And then these other conditions, you know, these are just your normal stuff that you always agree to when you sign anything. So that's about it for that, for the large scale. And, you know, people just call Forestry here and we'll set up a time for me or one of my guys or gals to come down and do that inspection. This just basically goes over what I just went over.
Doug,
Yep,
what time turnaround time? I assume you don't want people calling you on Wednesday saying, "Hey, I want to burn this weekend. Can you come tomorrow?"
we're usually okay with that, as long as
Okay.
it's not like same day, but we can usually get someone down there that day or the next day, if not the third day. More concern to us is what's the fire weather. Because sometimes I'll allow people to send me photos and start burning, and then I'll go down and issue them a permit later. And but that's going to take a bunch of photos. And so and all the right equipment's got to be in those photos. But like I said, we're going to get eyes on every one of these. These are just some kind of piles they put in, or pictures for the class that they put in. This is something that I'm pretty sure they shut down before they got it started. That's in downtown Palmer, I believe, right next to the road. This is some of the equipment we're going to want to see. Not necessarily excavator with a thumb, but something to move things around. Excavator with a thumb is the best piece of equipment you can use, but I understand farmers don't really, that's not really a piece of equipment farmers have around. So they'll probably be using dozers, forks, loaders, things like that. The thing with the excavator is you could shake all the dirt out of your wood before you try to burn it, and you end up getting a high quality burn. And let's see, what else do we got? You know, this is a photo just showing excellent clearance. You know, these sparks are more than likely not going to get into the woods, plus those are hardwoods. And it looks like they're getting pretty good smoke lift. It doesn't look like it's drifting either way. These are bad things. We are going to get on people if we find out they're burning construction debris and other things out there. And the fine can be up to $25,000. So I think in the beginning we'll have a lot of people following the rules, and then years down the road, people are going to start burning that leftover construction material, and we want to try to avoid that. That's bad smoke. That'll give people cancer for miles. This is a photo showing inadequate clearance, so we're not going to want people to burn big piles right next to a dog hair black spruce like that. Let's see. you know, these are good piles in a good spot, but they didn't call in. They didn't let us know. They didn't let their local guy know. They didn't let anybody know. So this probably got a helicopter response, which is expensive. So this is just something to put it into perspective. I believe this was a human caused fire. So this is what we don't, this is what we want to avoid at all costs. Because fire that's ripping that hot, probably going to burn structures and do a lot of other damage.
I believe some ag parcels in Kobe had some infrastructure lost. I know a guy lost a well in a trailer he had out there. I think
Yeah.
another guy, they had an old tractor that got, you know, totally burned out. So yeah.
Yeah, those guys can't catch a break out there. Here we've got a picture of a great, you know, this could be what it looks like down there in Nenana. Exactly what it looks like when you guys are ready to burn. Here's your excavator. There's your water truck. Boom, you're ready to go. Well, you got to add 2 people, 2 or 3, you know, play it safe. Got some other good shots of equipment working together. Oftentimes, if people want to get away with just one pile, they'll just feed that pile and keep feeding it. And the good thing about that is if you do get adverse weather, you can put that pile out. Whereas if you get adverse weather with a burn row, you probably shouldn't put it out because you'll never get it started again. And it's going to be hard to put out anyway, even with airplanes and helicopters and everything else. So, that's why a lot of farmers like to do the burn rows like late fall, like the day before it's going to snow, light that stuff off, or a couple days after that first snow, even better. As long as it's nice dry wood, it doesn't take much to get it going. Inadequate pressure. This is kind of a funny one. Adequate pressure. This picture over here is kind of sad because I think that's a piece of logging equipment there. So even those guys start fires every now and then, burn down their timber. Yeah, upper left-hand corner. We don't want to see this. I want people to be cool. Use the transfer sites. Don't burn garbage. Everybody should know that. Then they kind of go into the way they use it for their contractor class down there. If a person, like say somebody down there had 2 parcels and they wanted to burn on them both, I would want them to get a permit for each parcel and burn them separately unless they could provide enough equipment to do both of them properly. You don't want to, your span of control can come to an end real quick once you get a bunch of fire going. So we'll play that case by case, depending on how well people are set up. There's just kind of a more close up of that large scale permit. Again, human caused fires. Expensive. Inversions, that's another thing Joe would be concerned with down there with weather. If it's not clear, or if it's incredibly cold, it's probably not a good time to burn because you're not going to get that smoke to lift. So you got to learn when is the good time to burn, or, you know, just pay attention. You know, if there's an obvious inversion, like if the smoke coming out of your chimney isn't going anywhere, you got an inversion. Or if you're seeing things like you see in this bottom picture here, or either of these top pictures here, they show that the mixing height is too low. So that's going to create bad air for people for miles, hundreds of miles sometimes if the fire is big enough. Here we've got incomplete combustion. There's a lot of dirt in that pile. It's not working out. And there's an inversion apparently. And you can see people live right there.
Getting the dirt out of the wood is super important to keep your soils in place. The fire burns better. And then a lot of the burn rows that I've seen from older farms, you know, that if they don't spread out the ashes after they're done, or there's a little bit of incomplete burning, they just leave it there. And a decade later, that's where all the invasive plants come from. And then you get big cottonwoods growing in there, and they're just sucking all the water from your fields. And you're like, oh, I've got a good windbreak, and maybe not. I mean, if it's anyway.
Yeah, you'll have a lot of good
shakeout.
raspberries, that's for sure. No, good point. And yeah, shaking it out. Obviously, you want to save that dirt. No reason to burn it. And then also creating a better burn. And then, like Mo said, you know, you're going to create better soil by spreading that stuff out. This shows an example of a pit burn. People probably aren't going to be doing that down there, but pit burns are relatively safe and could work for a farm. Probably not. People are probably going to want to keep that ash in the soil there and make use of it. So yeah, I think that was about it from this slideshow that I wanted to share. One thing I don't really like to mention is that, you know, an individual or an employee may be fined up to $500 per violation, you know, for not following the burn permit rules. A company or an organization up to $25,000. And there's, if you have an escaped fire and it causes a lot of damage, you may be held for fire cost recovery, which could be up to 2 times damages. So we really want people to play it safe. And there's a list of the basic violations up to $500. And then the $25,000 is a big step up, and that's going to be for organizations or businesses. And I think that's about it from me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, you don't by chance know anything about forestry management plans at all? That's not, you just do the putting out fires, right? You don't do planning for forestry practices at all?
I think that would probably fall more under like the foresters.
Okay.
Yeah, like maybe Meany would be one to touch base on that. And I wanted to give my input on the biochar. The biochar sounds like a great idea because then you put that right back in the soil. And around the world, it's already showing incredible usefulness. And especially since sometimes we get these, they don't last very long, but we do get drought times up here in the summer. That biochar will keep that moisture in the soil longer. So there's a lot of benefits to it.
Yeah, and I believe the city is looking at some kind of system where they could possibly come out if you've got a big pile at the edge of your parcel next to road. The thinking is, this is not in place yet, but the thinking is they could come out, chip it, haul it back to the city, utilize it, and then they would give you some equivalent of biochar back, kind of a trade. Another thing is Art Nash with the Cooperative Extension Service has been at the Nenana Ag Day in June for the last 2 years. And he's got several different demonstration models of biochar devices that he's, home crafted. And, he's passionate about using energy resources on the farm. And if any of you guys, the farmers, would like to know more about, creating a biochar system, this in June, Art Nash should be at the Nenana Day. Or again, through the Cooperative Extension Service, you can contact him or other specialists of different kinds of energy conservation is one of their little planks that they have. But,
Yeah, and I think good projects like that give back to the land are also going to help in the long run with people who are not convinced that they want this to go forward. So everything you can do to help preserve and put back is great. And I think the biochar could be one of those things.
Yeah. Long-term sustainability is lowering your input costs, and using what you have there to the highest value is definitely going to lower your input costs over time. And it's just best practice for the lands. So yeah. Also, things like if you do clear a big field, in the spring, that's when you do your burning. If you're not putting it to crop soil or some kind of a soil health crop to keep it from eroding away over the summer, to keep it, the soil health is can be an integral part of your biodiversity and your sustainability systems for your agriculture project. I believe this is our last NenTot Tuesday of the year, so I want to thank these gentlemen for coming on today, and all of my previous guests and presenters. I look forward to seeing everybody. I believe the Nenana Ag Education Day is going to be on June 2nd, Friday, June 2nd, 2023. In Nenana at the boat launch, and we hope to see you there. And again, thank you for tuning in to the NenTot Tuesday.